Hello, and thank you for taking the time to join me here today. I've put together some of my best practices from what I've seen work, both with telemarketers that I've employed and with other folks, to present to you why cold calling for Medicare works and how to make it work for you. First, we're going to go over some cold calling basics. We're going to talk about different marketing lists, and we'll also cover dialer systems a little bit so you know what's available and have a better understanding of what's in the marketplace. Whenever you're going to be doing cold calling, it's important to define an audience with a specific need. In this case, it's seniors looking to save money on their Medicare supplement or perhaps get some better coverage, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Other key audiences where you have a very pinpointed target that you're going for, homeowners that want to protect their income in the event of illness or injury, or drivers that are looking to save money on their car insurance. Again, these are very specific needs. It's not the approach of, hi, I'm an insurance agent, I specialize in everything. It's, I'm giving you a call today because I'm helping people with this specific problem. With Medicare, it's a great product because they are standardized plans, and people are generally pretty familiar with what they have, well, except for the T65 folks, but we'll talk about that again shortly. In order to develop an effective script, you need to do a few things. First, you need to address the clearly identified need. Hi, how are you doing today? I'm calling you because. Get right to it and be direct. You only have a few seconds to get their attention, and if you treat those few seconds that they're giving you with respect and get down to exactly what it is that you're looking for, oftentimes people will respond favorably. One of the ways that you can help encourage or help get a better result out of that is by using words like you and help. If your friends called you up and said, hey, look, I'm getting ready to move a heavy couch, would you come and give me a hand? Most of us would probably do it because they're our friends and that's what friends do. But we'd certainly, on the other hand, if our friends knew that we were going to be moving a couch and they gave us a call and said, hi, would you like some help? Certainly we'd appreciate that. So when you're emphasizing words like you and help, it does go a long ways versus the I'm calling you today because I would like to give you a quote. It seems like a subtle change, but it does make a difference. If instead you're saying, hi, I'm calling you because I would like to help you solve your problem, a different scenario. And you want to have a call to action. You want to make sure that when you're calling them, it's pretty direct what you're looking for. To that point, you want to ask controlled questions. I'm calling you today about guaranteed issue life insurance. Has anyone talked to you about that before? You're not looking for a specific yes or no. Is this a product that you think would help you? It's, have you had this conversation before? And is this something that you're interested in? Interested in at least learning more about. Another controlled question is, would you rather save money, get better coverage, or both? It might seem obvious that folks are going to go ahead and say, well, of course I'd like to say both, but it is a way of engaging them and finding out what their hot points are. Oftentimes when you're putting together a script, you're going to want to have two different value propositions. One is usually the price, and the second is another value proposition as far as service goes or better coverage or something of that nature. And then, what do you like most about your current insurance? There's no wrong answer for them saying that. They say, well, I like that it's there, I like that it has state guarantees, I like that I don't have co-pays, or whatever the case may be. A lot of times when people are putting together their sales approach, and it's especially important when you're doing this over the phone, but when you're putting together your sales approach, you're focusing maybe more on the negatives. Oh, you must be overpaying for your coverage. Are you adequately covered? If instead you ask questions like, what do you like most about your current coverage? That does give you the option to not only take advantage of the fact that they might have coverage they don't like, but also point out similarities. If they say that they love that their doctor's in the network, or if they have a Plan F and they love that they have no copays, or whatever the case may be, you're also speaking with them on a more favorable basis. People like to be happy in theory, and if you're spending a lot of time focusing on the bad decision that they made with the coverage before, or how the insurance company's taking advantage of them by charging all these premiums, that can set a slightly negative tone. So it is important to emphasize the positives as well. Let's talk about the Medicare script I'm going to go over with you here. It's been used for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of calls. It's pulled as high as 5% in some areas, but usually it pulls 1 to 3%. It generally pulls 1 to 3 leads an hour, and it's Very, 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 very simple. The reason why scripts work is generally because of repeatable precision. It's a situation where you can reasonably expect that if you keep doing the same thing that you've been doing, you can get the same results. Oftentimes we associate that with the old adage of insanity is doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting different results. In folks saying, oh, what I'm doing now isn't working. Well, why do you keep doing it? On the flip side of that, if you have something that is working and you keep doing it, you can reasonably expect to keep getting the same results. So that's where a lot of the value of having an effective script is. There are plenty of other ways to do this. There are other folks that have different approaches, but this is what I've seen work well on any campaign that I've worked on. It's very direct. Good morning, how are you doing today? And then you say you're glad to hear that or you're sorry to hear that. I'm calling you today because I'm helping seniors save hundreds of dollars on their Medicare insurance. Would you like to find out how much I can save you? It's very specific. There isn't anything missing from here. The one other thing that you might want to do is add that second value proposition. This one is very much geared towards the price shoppers. What we'll be able to do also is pivot on that and add the value proposition. So if you say, instead of the line, I'm calling you today because I'm helping seniors save hundreds of dollars on their Medicare insurance, you can add the line and get better coverage. Now, better, of course, is a subjective term, but if they have something that's not meeting their needs, it's possible that they're going to be able to find something that has a better solution for their needs. So there's no reason why you can't use that. It does hit on a hot button. Maybe they don't care about the price. A lot of times you'll be talking to people when you're calling that do have some means or do budget to make sure that they can afford their health insurance, and what they're looking for might not just be the least expensive option, but what makes them feel the most secure. They might not want large out-of-pocket premiums, especially with the way that Medicare Advantage plans have been getting cuts and what's looming in the future there. A lot of companies are reducing benefits. They are tightening down their networks, and they are actually adding or raising premiums. And you might find that a lot of seniors, even if they are locked in, they might be looking forward to getting out of those Medicare Advantage plans and into a Medicare supplement, or vice versa. The important thing is that you're getting a conversation going. And by just saying, dollars and cents, that's a good way to get in the door. But if you say, well, we've got dollars and cents, or I can help advise you on what makes more sense for you, or talk to you about your options, now you're giving them you're getting another chance at hitting a hot button for them. You'll also notice with this script, there is not a block spot here that says, hi, this is Josh from XYZ agency. It doesn't say I'm calling from your local agency. It doesn't ask for the person on the record. It says, good morning, how are you today? Now, if it's afternoon, you probably want to go ahead and change that, or evening as the case may be. Other than that, when I see folks vary from that, when I have telemarketers that work for me and they start introducing themselves, they start doing other things, it detracts from what's actually going on. And so this has been the absolute most effective approach that I've found. You can go ahead and try some different things out and find out what works best for you, but this is going to be a formula that's going to deliver some pretty consistent results. Kind of an overview in conjunction with this script, but with any cold calling, you do want to be conversational. And you want to ask them how they're doing sincerely. If it's, hi, how are you doing today? It's going to be a lot different than, hi, how are you doing today? Also, though you're not going to want to lead in with first names, in that you're not going to want to ask for the person on the record, then you are going to want to go ahead, when you're talking to them, use first names. Again, this is a personal opinion. When I first started selling life insurance, I worked for a company, and my manager said, he heard me listening on some calls, and he said, Josh, what are you doing? So, well, I'm working some leads here. And he says, notice you're asking for Mr. Smith or Mr. Jones. I go, yeah. Raised with manners. That's what I'm supposed to do. He said, don't do that. I said, use their first name. If you got a call and it said, hi, this is Mr. Stacy there, you're instantly going to be thinking it's more official. But if it's hi, is Josh there, it's going to relax the tone a bit. And that's really what we're looking for. There is this tone of people don't like telemarketers because they're just these rude people that bother them during mealtime. That was the big push when they got the do not call legislation passed, was finally we can eat dinner in peace with our families, and you're trying to break that mold. And it's not that bad. The reality is that you as an agent, if you're doing your own calling, you're not somebody just trying to meet a quota. You're not stuck in a boiler room. You're not somebody that's been at their job for a hot minute. You are somebody that's legitimately calling with a product that people definitely could use some help with. So go ahead and relax. Also, get them to laugh a little bit. Folks, if they can laugh with you, you're instantly more comfortable with them, and that's going to increase your chances of not getting in the way of the sale. The reality is a lot of people have good products, and the reason why they don't make sales isn't because they don't have a good solution for people, but it's that barrier of making sure that they have that relationship and finding your prospects are comfortable enough that they want to do business with you. As far as self-critique goes, I believe that's one of the most important components of telemarketing, second only to doing the same thing every time. If you're trying different versions of a script, you want to do it at least 100 calls before making any changes. If you keep changing the script every 5-10 calls, you're not going to get a large enough sampling to actually know what's going on. Personally, I would go at least 500 or 1,000, but anything less than 100 is probably not putting yourself in a position to really get a fair assessment as to whether or not your approach is working. If you can, record your calls, go back and listen to them. You're going to hear things that you didn't think that you said, and you're going to hear the way that they're reacting differently. Also, one of the probably top two, if not number one, things that you're going to notice if you do listen to recordings is that your pacing is usually going to be super fast. Hi, how are you doing today? I'm calling you because I'm helping seniors save hundreds of dollars on their Medicare. Would you like to find out how much I can help you save? That doesn't come across as sincere as, hi, how are you doing today? I'm glad to hear that. I'm calling you because I'm helping seniors save hundreds of dollars in their Medicare insurance. Would you like to find out how much I can help you save? Very different, and it's difficult to realize how fast we're moving through things, especially if it's something you've done hundreds of times. You might think that you're doing it more quickly. One of the things that you'll notice too is you can't generally slow down more than is going to sound good. So if you're slowing yourself down and it feels like you're going slow, it's going to sound comfortable on the other end, unless you're just being lethargic about it. Don't be shy. If you feel like you're talking a little too slow, bear in mind you're working with the senior population as well. These are people who might have an old phone, they might have some hearing issues, and they might not be moving as fast as they used to. You also might catch them in the middle of something. You are calling people and interrupting them in the middle of their day. So if you take it slow, we've all had, somebody came in the door, you're sitting at home, somebody comes in through the door, they just had a busy day at work, and they want to tell you something interesting that happened that day. And you were in the middle of fill in the blank, and you didn't give them your full attention right away. You acknowledged they were there. This happens to me with my wife. She'll come in, and I will be in the middle of something, and she'll say, Josh. Then I know she says something, but I don't follow it completely because I was distracted. I did give her my attention when she came in, but I wasn't fully there because I was doing other things. And this is the same situation that you have when you're calling people. They're in the middle of watching TV, eating, cooking, maybe they have something on the stove, maybe they're waiting on a doctor's appointment, there might be some tests that they had done recently that they're waiting on the results for, or any number of other things. So when you listen through the calls, it'll help you better gauge how you're interacting with those folks. So let's take a moment to talk about some marketing lists. I am biased because I think AffordableMarketingLists.com provides the best lists out there at the best rates. I have no shame in admitting my bias there, but we've got a lot of customers that are very happy, very competitive pricing. Marketing lists are sometimes referred to as leads. If you take a look at Sales Genie or any number of other providers, they call them leads. Most insurance agents would only consider a lead if they've expressed interest. And in our situation, these are not people that have expressed any interest. They're just folks that are over the age of 65 or that are turning 65. Their phone numbers have been scrubbed against the do not call list, and you're calling them. I believe they would be more appropriately termed cold calling leads, and they're generally very inexpensive. Advantages of cold leads are that they're extremely affordable. You can sort them by a variety of filters. You can go by geography, home ownership, property value, marital status, credit score, lots of different things. There's generally not a lot of competition. It's not a situation where you're getting your prospects have had calls, maybe 5, 10 different agents have called them in the last week. You're generally in a situation where you're calling folks that you're competing with what they have, or maybe another agent called them a month ago. There are just a lot of them available and not a lot of agents hounding them. So there is that large pool to draw from. The turning 65 leads, so these are folks that are aging into Medicare, and we can do that by month. On the Advantage, there is no underwriting. They've got a GI period. There's a continuous pool of new prospects, and they're more informed. They are getting a lot of information. They also are probably more familiar with plans. They're probably coming off of some type of an employer plan or an individual plan, and they have an understanding of what their coverages are and how some different things work. On the downside, there is limited availability. Generally, you have to get multiple counties in order to get up to any significant number of prospects. They may not be retiring yet, and they may be oversaturated. There are a lot of people gunning for those T65 records, so they are getting calls and emails and door knocks from all over the world. On the 67 plus leads, so usually they give them a year or two to cool off, then you start working them. Frank Stasny was a big fan of this approach, but you can do 66-year-olds too. In fact, a lot of folks are doing that now, with the idea being they didn't retire at 65, they're probably retiring closer to 66. Go ahead and do that there. The advantage of working with the older records here, well, the records themselves are up to date, but the individuals that are older, so the older prospects, is that they're a lot more availability. There's just literally thousands of them available in most areas. It's very uncommon that you're going to find a situation where you won't have enough of these to call. A lot of times they've already made a decision, so they know about the different plans that are available, so there's less of an education process than with the turning 65 folks. And they do tend to be a more informed buyer. They've not only made their own decisions, but they probably have lots of friends and family that have been helping them, and they also have had their own experience. Not only did they pick a plan, but they've probably had some use for it and seen firsthand what happens. On the downside, they might be locked into a Medicare Advantage plan, so you may have to wait. Even if they are interested, you may have to wait to get them enrolled until the annual election period. They may not pass underwriting, they might have some health issues, or they may already have the lowest price plan. The T65 folks don't have anything, so they got to buy something from somebody. I suppose they could do nothing. It's probably a very uncommon choice. But in the 67 plus crowd, if the ARP Plan F is the most competitive plan, as is I believe the case in upstate New York, and just about everybody has it, then it might not be a great market for you. And you might have to focus more on the T65s. But if it's an area where everybody has, Universal American from forever ago, and the forever ago rates were huge, and you've got a lot of great carriers that are much more competitive, and people are generally healthy, then you've got yourself a great situation there. A lot of the stuff you won't know until you start working the area. But again, it's relatively inexpensive, and you can talk to a lot of people for not a lot of money. So let's talk about dialers. First, if you're in a situation where you are really looking to be careful with your funds, you're just looking for the least expensive way to get started, the dialer is not going to be the answer. But if you got a couple extra bucks, they're pretty affordable. We have one that we offer. It's $149 a month. There are a lot of different companies that offer them, all sorts of pricing scales. You've got options. One is a power dialer. That just dials out multiple outbound lines at a time, and the first person that answers the phone it connects you with, and then it stops ringing the other lines. If two people answer at the same time, it will only be able to connect you to one. So there's some obvious problems there. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. Predictive dialer actually is more of a call center solution. You need to have generally 7 to 10 telemarketers at least in order to use it. And what it will do is it'll actually take a look at the average call duration. So if the average call is a minute and a half, then we'll take a look at the connect time. So if it normally takes 20 seconds for it to find somebody, then it'll deduct 20 seconds from the average call duration. So you've got the minute and a half, and it will start dialing at the 1 minute 10-second mark, so that when the telemarketer comes off that call, it will be available. And it's a law of large numbers, so it only works when you do have a significant number of people calling on the same campaign, and you can make adjustments to that. But that's what a predictive dialer is. Then there's also voice broadcasting, also referred to as robocalls, the press 1 type campaigns. For business to consumer, since September 1st, 2009, those have been illegal. But if you do have opt-in database, folks have specifically said, yes, you can play me a message, you're golden, or you can also do it to businesses. Generally, it's not very effective to businesses. But those are the differences between the dialers. Now for some shameless self-promotion. I think the data that you got here, or the information you got here, was great. It is based off of real world experience. It is based off of calls that have actually been made that generated sales for Medicare agents. But also, to make that happen, you do need the lists. So at AffordableMarketingLists.com, we have very accurate data, generally running mid to high 90s accuracy. There are no contracts. There are no monthly fees. The pricing is excellent. You can get 1,000 records for $69, and then pricing goes down from there based off of volume. So if you get 2,000, it would be $129. 5,000 would be $249, and then we also have a 100% quality guarantee, which means if any of the records you get are bad, we will replace 100% of them. There's no asterisk on that. There's no fine print. If it's bad, we'll either replace the records or we'll give you back the money that you paid for that record. Again, it's very unusual that we're going to have more than a few percent there, but we do stand behind it 100%. So that's the end. Again, hopefully this was helpful for you. Visit us at AffordableMarketingLists.com for great deals on cold calling lists. And then if you want to know more about telemarketing, see some other stuff, go ahead and visit freetelemarketingscripts.com. And have a great day. Thanks again for your time, and I hope you feel it was time well spent.